Back on my grizzly again. Back on my grizzly again. Back on my grizzly again. Back on my grizzly again.
Yo, welcome ladies and gentlemen to episode 3 of the Dishhhtribute podcast. I'm your host, Devon Geis, and in today's episode we'll be discussing where we sit in the NBA with these first round matchups and transitioning into round 2. In the NFL, we'll discuss the schedule release and our top 10 games, along with the draft taking place this Thursday. To close, we have news regarding our social media page and predictions for Avengers Endgame. Now, jumping straight into our first topic, we have the NBA, Round 1, Game 4 fallouts, and predictions. First off, we have the Celtics completing the sweep of the Indiana Pacers. The Celtics closed the series out in Indiana 4-0. What speaks to me the biggest about the Celtics sweeping the Pacers is, you guys all know I have the Celtics coming out the East. I believe Kyrie, along with the depth of the Patriots, is vital to their success. And Kyrie didn't have to do that much yesterday. Kyrie hasn't even had to do that much this series. So when I look at Kyrie and how he's able to turn it on in the fourth quarter whenever you need him to come alive and get you buckets down the stretch, I just believe him against Milwaukee is going to be great down the stretch. I mean, this guy can get you a bucket at any time, any spot on the floor. You want it, you got it. 14 points yesterday on 4 for 13 shooting, 0 for 4 from 3, and Boston was still able to close out Indiana. You look at Jason Tatum, 18 points, Gordon Hayward, 20 points, which led the team. Then you have off the bench, Gordon Hayward with 18. Then you have Marcus Morris with 18. What just speaks to me, again, is the Celtics' depth. There was a moment in the game yesterday where Kyrie had just hit a big shot. Big crossover pull-up. I believe it was on Thaddeus Young. Then after that, the Pacers were able to go on a bit of a run. Then Kyrie, they gave him the ball, try to calm things down. He gives it to Marcus Morris, waves everyone else off for him. Marcus Morris takes it and hits a jump shot from mid-range. It's just stuff like that, being able to have confidence within your other players. Know that you can isolate yourself and let them go get a bucket. That's what I believe sets Boston apart from other teams in the East. I believe when Giannis is going to get his. That's the biggest thing. You look at Chris Middleton and Brogdon. While Middleton wasn't an all-star this year and Brogdon has been the biggest piece, people would argue, for Milwaukee, I just believe it's not their time. I believe next year, maybe, but this year, Boston has been to 2 straight Eastern Conference Finals. I believe this year they'll break through with a point guard that can finally break them through that ceiling. Now, if all works out and they stay healthy, I do believe that will be the case. Moving on, we have the Sixers and the Nets. Sixers going up 3-1 with the opportunity to go ahead and close out the series tomorrow. I just believe when I look at Philly, they've been pissed off. I mean, let's call it what it is. Philly has been presented with this opportunity to go ahead and put themselves on the map. Not us, talk about them and hype them up, but they have the stardom. They have the unit to go ahead and break through, and I believe that's what we're seeing in these last 2 games. The Nets have went on runs and make you think, okay, here they come. And then Philly just stomps it out with a defensive stop. When they come out of timeouts, they have offensive sets ready. Rather than last year when you would watch them against Boston, you just think, what the hell is going on? I just believe Philly will close out the series tomorrow. But all respect to the Nets. You look at D'Angelo Russell and Spencer Dinwiddie and Garrett Allen. I love what they have going on in Brooklyn. I hope they get a star this offseason, and then we'll go from there. You also have the Warriors yesterday going up 3-1. Nobody wants to give him his credit, but on Dishhhtribute, we will. Kevin Durant, he is up there for best player in the world. You just watch this guy ever since that nonsense happened with Patrick Beverley in the game 2 and discussing, KD's getting shut. No, not going for it. Another 30-point performance along with 7 rebounds, 6 assists. He was just able to do it all yesterday. KD was the driving force for the Warriors yesterday. Klay Thompson also got him 32 points. Now, the biggest thing that stuck out to me was Steph Curry, 12 points, 3 for 14 shooting, 1 for 9 from downtown, 10 rebounds, which is pretty good, really good for a point guard, and 7 assists. So Curry was right under a triple-double, but that's not what you expect of him. What they want from him is to get going, scoring the ball. That's what they're going to need. Now, not against the Clippers. I mean, let's be honest. We didn't expect the Clippers to even make the playoffs. Just a round of applause for Doc Rivers, the whole coaching staff, Lou Williams, and all those guys to even make the playoffs, even trading their best player, Tobias Harris. So, again, hats off to the Los Angeles Clippers. They'll be in the run for a huge superstar this year in the offseason. Keep your eyes open for Kawhi. But again, the Warriors, you expect Curry to give you that production. KD came through, Klay came through, played 40 minutes, hit 6 triples. So, their big three is always going to give you problems. It's just who's going to give you the most. But again, we just have to give Kevin Durant his credit. This is his time to go ahead and, without LeBron in the playoffs, stamp his name on this final Warriors run, which I will believe it will be for him, and go ahead on top. 3 finals MVPs, 3 MVPs, 3 straight championships. I mean, it doesn't get much better than that. Next, you have the Nuggets and Spurs tied 2 apiece. I just believe, the Nuggets aren't ready. This is the worst series in the Western Conference Finals. The Western Conference first round. I just believe, the Nuggets aren't ready. I put them in the same category as the Bucks. It's just that the Bucks are better. I don't believe in Jokic as far as a superstar. Like, you have to have a superstar. The one that you can give the ball and say, take me there. Whether it's LeBron making it happen with his playmaking, KD with his scoring, or Giannis with his, being dominant and get out my way, I'm going to get this bucket. I just don't believe the Nuggets have that. Jamal Murray's nice. He can hoop. Gary Harris is nice. He can knock down some shots. And Jokic can get you the nice triple-double and the flashy passes and stuff. But let's be honest. They might not even make it out against San Antonio. Now, I think they will. I think tomorrow they'll be able to go up 3-2 and close out the series on Thursday in Denver. But after that, in San Antonio, excuse me. But after that, from the way it's looking, the Portland Trailblazers are going to advance. And I just believe that Denver doesn't have enough to go against the superstardom of Dame, even CJ McCollum. So, this series, I have Denver coming out, but I think next round is going to be a little bit too much for them. Lastly, you have the main event of last night. The Blazers stepping on OKC's throat at home. Now, in the first half, it was very choppy. You could see, Westbrook and Paul George, the whole Oklahoma City Thunder roster start to gain confidence. But as, the second quarter went on, you saw that the Thunder just had to give quality minutes to Dennis Schroeder and Raymond Felton. That's not going to win you games. We know that Schroeder can start anywhere in the NBA. But let's be honest, he's not a shooter. The Thunder have him as their third scoring option. That's not going to win you games, especially here in the playoffs. In addition to that, I don't even have to explain Raymond Felton. So, after Paul George, number 1 scoring option, and Russell Westbrook are both off, the Thunder have nowhere to turn to. When you look at Portland, Dame is going to get his, CJ is going to get his, and then after that, it's a ripple effect of what they decide to do next. Now, my biggest thing, I said that the Thunder would win this series in 5 because, in 6 because I believe that Portland would win at home and then OKC would win out. Now, I did not see this production coming from Portland's bench like we've gotten it. Last night, you get Al-Farouq Aminu with 20 points, 19 points, 9 rebounds, 7 for 16 shooting, and he hit 4 triples. I mean, that's just really good from somebody you expect to just be great for you on the defensive end of the ball. Al-Farouq was out there balling. Then you have Dame, who scored 24, 8 assists. He had 7 assists in the first half. So what's interesting about Dame is he was all first half. But I saw it, and if you go back and check our tweets, we said on the Dishhhtribute page, Dame is starting to pick up confidence. Don't be surprised if the Blazers ride this momentum in the second half and start to take off. And that's exactly what they did. I believe Dame scored 15 in the third quarter, and that's when the Blazers were able to make that lead. And from that point on, you just could tell that it was too much. CJ gave you 27, and there was time after time where the OKC crowd tried to get going in the fourth quarter, and CJ just pulled up from mid-range, was able to lose Paul George and Dennis Schroeder and Terrence Ferguson and hit a big shot and crown the call down, make Billy Donovan have to call a timeout. So this series is heading back to OKC. I do believe the Blazers will end it there. From what has been a very competitive series, I am shocked to see it end in 5, but I believe Portland will not let it get out of Portland, and they will advance to round 2. Next, remaining Game 5 predictions. I also have today Toronto ending the series at home over Orlando. Tomorrow I have Toronto ending the series over Orlando. We all know what to expect out of the Magic. I mean, we didn't expect them to get a game, but Kawhi has turned it on. That's something that we were interested to see out of the Raptors. Have a star that can take over. Lowry has bounced back, hit some big threes and stuff like that. Interesting story, though, Pascal Siakam. I mean, Spicy P, that guy's on another level. You can just see when he gets the ball in his hands. I mean, he is a less dominant Giannis. I will say that. He's a sidekick Giannis. And for the Raptors, I think that's very good if they are able to... they will get out of this series and advance to round 2, but I think he will be a vital piece in them getting past the 76ers. Next, you have Philly with the opportunity to go home and end the series against Brooklyn. I believe they will do just that. I just believe it's too much. I mean, Jared Dudley, the arguing is cool, the getting inside of Ben Simmons' head, but it's just too much. They're too athletic. They're too skilled with Jimmy Butler and Tobias Harris on the outside. They just have too many weapons. I believe Philly will end this series at home, but again, hats off to Brooklyn. I believe them and the Clippers are in the same boat as far as impressing you for what you've seen. Again, hats off. Next, you have the Nuggets, who I believe will take a 3-2 series lead. It's just too much. San Antonio, very well coached, but one of the greatest of all time, Greg Popovich. But, the Nuggets do have the shooters. The Nuggets do have the best star in the series. So I believe that will put them on the pedestal to advance to round 2. And I do hope the Spurs are able to get something this offseason to help go along with DeRozan. We've already heard the chats of LaMarcus Aldridge leave. I've never seen him as somebody who can take you over the level, take you over the top. So they'll get DeJounte Murray back. But besides from that, we didn't even expect the Spurs to be here. So just to have them here, it's a pretty good thing. Next, you have the Warriors, who I do believe will close out the series against the Los Angeles Clippers and advance to round 2. We just know what the Warriors are built off. They're one of the greatest teams ever. But it is interesting to see in round 2 against Houston, which I'll get to in a second. But it'll be interesting to see how the Warriors bounce back from the injury bug. We always see teams go up against Golden State and have to deal with, we lost this player went down. And even though Boogie people could argue Boogie made them worse defensively. It'll be interesting how they bounce back after losing a star, especially how Capella is playing. I can't wait to see how they deal with him down low. Lastly, you have the Trailblazers and Oklahoma City Thunder tomorrow, again back in Game 5. Again, I believe Portland will advance in this series and be able to win this game and move on to the next round. I just believe Portland will close it out. Next, we have our round 2 matchups. Now, in the West, we will have Golden State against Houston, Nuggets, and against the Blazers. Out East, we will have the Bucks and Celtics and Raptors and 76ers. I won't go too in-depth on this because coming later this week, we will have a special edition of Dishhhtribute just giving a breakdown of Game 2, so stay tuned for that. But I will say, I have the Rockets upsetting it looks like, from the looks of it, every series in round 2, I have going down as an upset. So I have the Rockets coming over Golden State. I have the Blazers over the Nuggets. I have the Celtics over the Bucks in the East. And I have the 76ers over the Raptors. Now these may not come as upsets, but I have all the lower seeded teams coming out. So just keep that in mind. Special episode of Dishhhtribute coming later this week, breaking down these round 2 matchups. Switching over to the NFL, we did have the schedule release. 2019 schedule release. We had the preseason, but we officially got the regular season. And we went ahead and put our top 10 games together for you guys. So number 10, we have the Ravens and Seahawks. Earl Thomas will make his return to Seattle. In addition to that, you have the dynamic matchup between Russell Wilson and Lamar Jackson. I'm excited for this game. I really am. I had to put my Seahawks in there. I just believe this game will be one that stands out to you. You never really see the Ravens have a top 10 NFL game, but there's always one that, is borderline right there. I don't think the Ravens will make the playoffs this year. I just believe there's too many good teams in the AFC, and they lost too much defensively, especially their leader, CJ Mosley. But I do think this game against Seattle, they'll be able to, bring out their star power. Earl, I feel like it's going to be their leader defensively, and he'll come in with his head held high against Seattle at home. And Russell Wilson, the NFL's highest paid player, will put on a show. You have Chris Carson and the boys, so keep your eye out for that one. Number 9, Packers and Chiefs. Packers at Chiefs, Week 8. This, I believe, will be a MVP showdown between Aaron Rodgers and Patrick Mahomes. You look at these two teams, I believe these two teams represent each other so well for what the NFC offers and what the AFC offers. You have a standout quarterback. You have a top 5, 10 wide receiver with Tyreek Hill and Devontae Adams. Now, what's going to be most interesting about this game, aside from the quarterback play, is going to be the defensive matchup and how these defensive plays. We did see Green Bay finally make some effort in this offseason to go ahead and make some acquisitions defensively. They also did let Clay Matthews walk, which was a bit of a shock, but all good things do come to an end. You also have Kansas City, who also let some veterans walk, including Justin Houston and Eric Berry, and even traded their defensive stud from this year, D Ford. So they did bring in Tyrann Mathieu. I also expect them to build through the draft. So just keep an open eye out for that. But I think this Week 8 matchup between the Packers and Chiefs will be an offensive showdown. Very good for what the NFL is looking for. Number 8, Browns at Patriots. Week 8, another Week 8 matchup. Now, this very well could be a potential coming out party for the Browns. Baker Mayfield, Odell Beckham, Jarvis Landry, that big three going into Foxborough against you-know-who, the GOAT, Tom Brady and Bill Belichick. The GOATs, Tom Brady and Bill Belichick. No Gronk, but we all know. We've seen him win it before without Gronk. So, Number 12 is going to bring his, and I believe he will be better than last year. Last year, you could see at moments where he just wasn't having that spin on the ball, but they just brought in Demaryius Thomas. I expect them to get another playmaker through the draft. So, we all know what the New England Patriots are going to bring out. But very good opportunity for the Browns to go ahead and officially put their name on the NFL map. So just keep an eye out open. Just keep your eye open for that one. Number 7, Cowboys at Patriots, Week 12. This, I believe, will be a battle for America's team. Now, for me, I've never really defined the Dallas Cowboys as America's team. I just don't believe that they are deserving of that title, not winning a Super Bowl since I've been alive, and I was born in 1999. So, I just don't believe they deserve a name that great. I believe the Patriots do, being one of the best dynasties ever, but also being the dynasty the NFL has had while it's gained its most success. So I do believe that the Patriots will stamp their name as America's team in that Week 12 matchup. Number 6, Kansas City at Chicago, Week 16. Now, this game is a bit later in the year. At this point, Kansas City may not even need to play as they will. Play as hard as they might. Now, it's going to be interesting to see how one of these matchups coming soon on our list plays out. And if this game will mean as much. But if so, if both of these teams are on their A game, you have Kansas City with one of the best offenses in the league. And they're going to Chicago, Week 16, so you know it's going to be cold. And Chicago plays shutdown defense at home. We get to see Khalil Mack back against one of his old AFC West rivals. We never really got to see that, Khalil Mack against Patrick Mahomes, but we will in this matchup with also other Chicago stars, Roquan Smith, Leonard Floyd, Fuller and them boys. So just keep an eye open for that one. If both teams are healthy, both teams are in playoff contention, fighting for seeding, I do think this will be one of the game's best. Number 5, Cowboys at Eagles. Well, number 5, Rams at Cowboys. Now, this game will take place in Week 15. I believe this will be for NFC seeding. I'm very interested to see how this game goes with the Rams having to go to Dallas later in the year. I do believe Dallas will make the playoffs in some capacity. I just believe they'll lose all the big games. Now, I believe they'll, be able to... I mean, you have Zeke, the best running back in the league. We've seen how legit that Dallas defense is. So I believe they'll be able to, edge out some of these big games. But when it comes down to it, I just believe in Philly more. Which transitions us into our next game, Cowboys at Eagles. This game is going to be a good one. This will be the Week 16 matchup. I believe this will be for the division. And the Cowboys having to go to Philly, I just believe Carson Wentz will be on his A game this year, along with them bringing back Deshaun Jackson, Also trading for Jordan Howard, which I also feel like people forget is very well one of the best backs we have in the league. So keep your eye open for Philly. I do believe they'll be on their worst behavior this year. We'll make a run at another Super Bowl run. Number 4, Cowboys at Saints. We all know these two teams just do not like each other. This matchup will happen in Week 4, so we get it pretty early in the season. I'm just very excited to see this game go down. In the NFC, we were really, if you remember in the playoffs last year, you were really hoping that the Cowboys and Saints were able to meet up again. Wasn't happening that way as the Rams beat both teams or were able to advance to the Super Bowl. But I believe this will potentially be an NFC championship preview. If not, it'll definitely be an NFC playoff game preview. Number 3, Patriots at Eagles, Week 11. anytime you see a Super Bowl matchup on the rematch on the schedule, you get excited. These are two teams we expect to make the playoffs in their respective conferences. We also get to see Carson Wentz against Tom Brady, which we were deprived of in that Super Bowl. I believe this will be a good one. Instant classic. Hope we get that game on Sunday Night Football. Number 2, Chiefs at Patriots, AFC title rematch, Week 14. At this point in the season, I do believe this will go down as the game for the number 1 seed. I expect these two teams to end up there again in the AFC title game. It just depends on where we're going to be playing it. I hope nothing comes from this Tyreek Hill situation. Of course, like I said before, I hope that it's handled the right way, but I don't want to lose him for the whole season. We know how, vital he is to the Chiefs' success. Definitely want to see him be able to go up against the Patriots in a year after we felt like they were that close to beating them. And we know what the Patriots are going to do at home. We know what they're going to be on their A game and how Belichick is going to bring them out. Again, try to force Mahomes to take field goals and everything like that. Very excited to see how they bounce back and play following the Super Bowl win. Lastly, number 1 game of 2019, the Saints at the Rams, Week 2, NFC title rematch. We'll get this game super early in the season. I wish that it would have been the season opener, but nonetheless, you have the Saints traveling to LA rather than where the NFC Championship they took the Rams on at home. We all know that the no call forced the Saints to lose out on a trip to the Super Bowl, where the Rams only were able to put up 3 points. I saw a meme on Twitter where it said you never send in a boy to do a man's job, which is what the NFL did with sending Goff over Breeze to see Brady in the Super Bowl. So I just believe that when the Saints meet up, we both know these teams, again, don't like each other. But I believe these are the top 2 teams in the NFC. We very well could be seeing these teams face off each other again in the NFC title game this year. So just keep your eyes open for that one. I do think that will be the game of the year in Week 2. Of course, these guys will have to, get through the game cramps and get back into game speed. But I do believe that this game, just the adrenaline pumping and everything like that, we'll get to see, the top of the NFC go at it. Transitioning, this Thursday we will be watching the NFL draft. We all know what the draft brings. New talent into the NFL. Top 5 things that I want to see. Number 1, the Cardinals make a QB decision and they ride with it. We all know what is out west in the NFC. You have Jimmy G, who just got that big contract, is going to bounce back from injury. 49ers going out to make, them a legit defensive team, but also have to build around their quarterback. So when you look at that, in addition to Russell Wilson being the highest paid quarterback in the league, or highest paid player rather, and Jared Goff, who we just saw Sean McVay put in a position to bring his offense to the Super Bowl, you just have to know who you're going to have as your quarterback. Be all in with that if you're Arizona. And for me, I want to see them pick Kyler Murray. I just believe Kyler Murray is more set to go against those other quarterbacks in the NFC West rather than Josh Rosen, who does throw a pretty beautiful ball. He just can't compete with those guys. I mean, if you let Rosen ride you out with a division this stacked, I don't believe that you're, propelling yourself to the future to the top in the future. I don't believe that is possible with the talent these quarterbacks in the NFC West present. Number 2 thing I want to see happen, the Giants. What is your approach? Are you going to ride with Eli? We all know, we've heard the talks of them selecting Dwayne Haskins. He's reportedly said he has no problem, learning from Eli Manning, which is also a good thought. But if that was your decision, why would you go ahead and trade Odell Beckham? If Saquon is going to be the star, I understand that. They did just extend Sterling Shepard. But what are you going to do with that second first round pick if you decide to select Haskins? Are you going to trade up and select DK Metcalf? Are you going to trade down and get more picks so you can rack up on defensive players or even offensive players in the second round, build on your line and so forth. So I'm just very interested to see what the Giants do. You know, everything they do is going to be highly touted, especially if they pick a quarterback to be Eli's predecessor. So very interested to see what the Giants do, if they'll build offensively or defensively through the draft with those 2 first-round picks. Number 3, the Raiders have to pick the best players available. You know, with the John Gruden situation, he signed a 10-year contract. I mean, you can either decide to try to win now or build for the future. It looks like they're building for the future, trading away their best 2 players. So I'm not really sure what they're doing in Oakland, what their approach is. I've heard that Derek Carr is the guy. I've also heard that he's not for what John Gruden's looking for. They may trade up. They may trade down. So I'm just really convinced to see, really interested to see what the Raiders' approach is, similar to the Giants, but what they will do with all their first-round picks. Will they trade up? Will they trade out? Will they try to get their picks in a position where they consistently are on the table and the cars are in their benefit? So I just really want to see what the Raiders do. Number 4, I want to see the Jets trade out. I believe with the acquisition of Le'Veon Bell, their offense is going to be in a way better position. You also have them signing C.J. Mosley. You had Anthony Barr back out on them. I believe that Anthony Barr signing would have put them really on the map, but they do have some other guys that they need to go ahead and bring on the table defensively and offensively. Just really want to see them trade back in the draft to go ahead and get some more draft picks so they can build offensively and defensively. Very interested to see if their front office is going to be able to do that. And number 5, the last thing I want to see from this NFL draft is I want to see a player included with a draft pick trade. We always see draft pick trades, but we never see a big-time name. Well, we haven't seen it in a minute moved on draft day. I would like to see someone traded. Now, if it has to be my Seahawks with Frank Clark, you know, we are always looking to trade back in the first round. I could see us doing that again, racking up on picks. Frank Clark's name has been in the trade market as of late with us signing Russell Wilson. We're going to have to extend Bobby soon. So I do expect us to trade Frank Clark here pretty soon. He is a stud, so I believe any team could benefit from his talents. Very interested to see if the Seahawks will be able to get a deal done on that. You also have Jadeveon Clowney, who could be on the trade table. You never see Houston make too much of a draft buzz, so that'd be very interesting to see as well. But again, I just want to see a player included with a trade. We always see the picks moved around, so it'll be very interesting to see if that comes into play with different dynamics. So what are you guys looking to see from the draft? We want to get more of our social media up, so if you guys have any questions or topics that you want us to discuss with you, you can be sure to follow us on social media at Dishhhtribute or my personal at DemonGeist and add us on there. Make sure that you follow everything Dishhtribute. You can follow me at DemonGeist or at Dishhtribute. Make sure to also follow everything Pack Brand at Pack Brand. Also follow our other podcast at the Pack Life Pod. My brother Bruiser Carter, Brandon, and Derek cooking up some big stuff over there. Be sure to check out episode 12 that they just dropped yesterday with my boy JB. In addition to that, I also want to go ahead and announce that we want to have a bigger building on our social media. So what we'll go ahead and do is start posting stuff on our social media page, similar to what you may see on Bleacher Report or House of Highlights, just giving our opinion on the biggest games or the biggest story from that night. So if KD is able to go for 38 again, you will be hearing from us along with the highlight package to what we felt like he stood out most from that night, and going along those lines. Also, you know, any big news on trading and stuff, we'll also talk about how that new player can benefit that new team and go from there. So very excited for that. Again, be sure to follow everything Dishhtribute, my personal at DemonGeist, at Dishhtribute on Twitter and Instagram, at Pack Brand and at Pack Life Pod on Instagram and Twitter. Also, it's Monday, so you know what that means. WWE Monday Night Raw coming on tonight, along with SmackDown tomorrow. Very excited to see how they bounce back from the Superstar shakeup, what these new storylines will mean who is not and who is still coming up. I mean, it's not officially over. I know that they can't have the U.S. title and the Intercontinental title on SmackDown, so I expect Joe to rear his head on Raw tonight. Hopefully we get the Undisputed Era. Probably not, but, everyone wants to see them on the main roster, so potentially good to see that. Lastly, we'll close with this Thursday, Avengers Endgame. We're pretty big fans of the Avengers here at Dishhtribute. We have our theories and our predictions for what's going to happen for the year's biggest movie. We expect Cap to die. There's been rumblings of a Thor 4. I originally had Thor on the crossed out list, but Thor looks like he's going to be surviving. I hope Tony Stark retires, but it's possible we could lose Tony too. Very interested to see who the next MCU baddie will be. I've heard Doctor Doom. I've heard Galactus being a possibility. Me personally, I do think it'll be the Green Goblin. Spider-Man is going to be that next movie after Avengers Endgame, which will reportedly close out Phase 3, the Infinity Saga. So very interested to see what they do with that, how they introduce the next big baddie. Will it tie into Spider-Man? Will it be something with the Fantastic Four or something along those lines? Very interested to see. The MCU always does right, but if one thing's for sure, you don't want to use the bathroom during this Endgame movie, so be sure not to drink anything the night before or the day of. That'll be my strategy going in. I usually get an icy, but I know this time I'm going to have to go ahead and miss out because I cannot miss any part of this movie. But yes, that has been all with Dishhtribute episode 3 today. Again, I am your host, Damon Geis. Make sure to follow us on Dishhtribute on Twitter, on Instagram at Dishhtribute. You can follow me on my personal at Damon Geis, where you'll get plenty of Dishhtribute content as well. You can also follow us Everything Packed at Pack Brand on Instagram and Twitter, as well as our other podcasts with my brothers Bruiser Carter, Brandon, and Cutthroat. New episodes coming every Sunday. Be sure to check out episode 12 on their YouTube, Apple Podcast, Spotify, Stitcher, anything you can. Pack Life Pod. Be sure to follow on there as well. But yes, that has been Everything with Dishhtribute episode 3. And again, special episode coming this week. Breaking down our round 2 matchups and our predictions. This has been Dishhtribute episode 3. I'm Damon Geis, signing off.